Hare Krishna, everyone. So today we're going to be looking at Bhagavad Gita as it is chapter 8, verse 16. So let's see. The verse goes, Abrahma bhuvana loka punaravartinurjana mam upatya tu kaunteya punarjanma navidyate. And the English translation, from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Brief explanation. So Krishna is saying, from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest. So in the material world, according to the Vedic version, the material universe is divided into 14 planetary systems. And we on Earth, we're in the middle. So Krishna says, from the highest to the lowest, there's misery. You just cannot escape. In the material world, you cannot escape from misery. And what's the misery? So we know there's 4 miseries. Birth, old age, disease, death. So Krishna says repeated birth and death takes place. So people who want to escape from this cycle, they need to know that no matter which planet you go, if it's in the material universe, birth and death will follow. Krishna says, but one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. So Krishna is saying, if we want to never take birth again, we should go to his abode, which is not affected by birth and death. So people may be anxious to go to the higher planets, and the reason why is because there the facilities for enjoyment is 1,000 times better, and there is a higher duration of life. For instance, Brahma Loka, Swarga Loka, the heavenly planets. So people might want to do pious activities with the aim of reaching those planets in the next life. But all good things come to an end. So in this material world, everything is temporary. And after people have exhausted their pious activities, they have to come back on this planet Earth. People who attain the highest material planets, the planet of the demigods, such as Brahmaloka, Chandraloka, and Indraloka, have to again be subjected to repeated birth and death, and they may even fall down to earth if they do not cultivate Krishna consciousness. So there is an opportunity, while being on these higher planetary systems, to go even higher and reach Krishna Loka if the living entity cultivates Krishna consciousness. But if the living entity is too busy enjoying the higher facilities, then they will have to come back to the earth. They have to fall back. Goloka Vrindavana, Krishna's supreme abode, is the highest goal and the destination of great souls who become eternally blissful there. So Krishna says, one who attains to my abode. So we're going to look in detail, we're going to look at Krishna's abodes in more detail here in this presentation. Right, so those devotees who achieve perfection in Bhakti Yoga go to Krishna's transcendental abode and never have to return to the material universe. So we should take the Krishna consciousness seriously. Right, let's look into more details. So, we living entities have different duration of lives in this material universe. For instance, we know the topmost planet in the material world is Brahmaloka. And in Brahmaloka, Lord Brahma lives a very long time. He lives 4.32 billion earthly years. So basically, no, sorry, he doesn't live 4.32 billion years. He lives for 100 years, and each of his day or night is made up of 4.32 billion earthly years. So if we can imagine one day of Brahma equals to 4.32 billion years here on planet Earth, and one night again 4.32, and Lord Brahma lives 100 years. So that's really, really long lifespan. However, even though Lord Brahma lives such a long life, he still needs to die. So let's see what happens when Lord Brahma dies, or when Lord Brahma sleeps. So during Brahma's night, because we know Brahma is a secondary creator of the material universe. So when he goes to sleep at night, all the lower planetary systems in the material universe are destroyed. And Lord Brahma sleeps within the body of the Garbhodakashai Vishnu. So what we mean by planetary systems, so we can look here in the Goloka chart, we can see the 14 planetary systems are divided into higher planets, as you can see. So higher planets, higher than planet Earth. So we have Bhuvarloka, Swargaloka, Maharloka, Janakaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka. So you can see Lord Brahma's abode is the highest in the material universe. So these are the higher planetary system. The middle would be Bhurloka, so Earth, right? And the lower planetary systems would be all of these here. So Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, Patalog. There's 28 hellish planets also. So that's the, since we're talking about the planetary systems, that's the material sky, there are 14 planets, and there's no eternal life because it's in the material universe. Right, so these lower planets, these are the ones that would be destroyed when Lord Brahma goes to sleep within the body of Garbhodakashai Vishnu. And when he wakes up, he creates those lower planetary systems again, and he creates living beings to populate them. So then the question is, so what happens then when Lord Brahma dies himself after 100 of his years? All the planetary systems then are dissolved in water and enter into Garbhodakashai Vishnu's body. So that's what we call annihilation. The time of dissolution is when all these planetary systems, they are annihilated. So we can see that even in Brahmaloka, there's annihilation. Actually, the post of Brahma, it's just a post, and every time there's new living entities that take up this post of Brahma, depending on their pious activities. So we looked at the material sky already. We know, so basically what happens is, so we have three kinds of Vishnu. We have Karanadakashai Vishnu, who lies on the Karana ocean. And when he does that, he's in a state of sleep. And so when he exhales, millions of universes come out of the pores of his body. When he inhales, all of these go back in. So in each of the universes, he enters as Garbhodakashai Vishnu. So we can see him here. Garbhodakashayi Vishnu here is lying on the Anantashesh snake, the bed of snake, and from his navel comes a lotus flower, a stem, sprouts of a lotus flower, and that's Lord Brahma, who is then born from that lotus flower, and he creates. And within the stem of the lotus flower are all these planets found. And obviously these planets, they are supported on the hoods of Anantashesh. That's what we call gravity, holding the planets in space. And obviously we know in each of the living entities an expansion of Vishnu enters as Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, and he's what we call the Paramatma. Right, so that's the material sky, and there is death from Brahmaloka up here all the way down. There is death. So what about the spiritual sky then? If you look at the top right corner, you can see that's part of the Goloka chart. So here is what we've been looking at. This is the material universe that we've looked at in here. So that's the material universe in the rectangle that we've looked at. Above this material sky is the Brahma Jyoti, which we can see is that little gap here, the Brahma Jyoti. And above that, beyond that, rather, is where the spiritual sky is situated. And there, in the spiritual sky, there is no birth and death. So some people, impersonalists, don't really want to go to the spiritual world. They are more interested in floating here in the Brahma Jyoti. The Brahma Jyoti is between the spiritual and the material sky. It's just the effulgence of Krishna. So Krishna, in his beautiful personal form as Bhagavan, is in the spiritual world, and there's great effulgence, great light coming from his body, and that light, which is the Brahma Jyoti, it's the destination of impersonalists, those who don't want to worship the Supreme Lord in his personal form, but they just want to be liberated, as in stop the cycle of birth and death. They want to annihilate all suffering. So these Jiva Atmas, these souls, they just like to hang here in the Brahma Jyoti, where they have no existence, interaction with the Supreme Lord. They just submerging in the Brahma Jyoti and hanging there, which is not very great situation, because they can easily fall back to the material universe, and it's very boring, because the nature of the soul is to be active, and so these souls are just hanging there doing nothing. So they're bound to get bored at some point and fall down. There's nothing interesting. It's just that there's no pain, there's no suffering, but there's something higher. And when we understand that there's the opportunity to be in the spiritual world and enjoy very personal relationship with the Lord, interact with the Lord and serve him, that is so much more joyful, more interesting, more blissful for the soul. So Krishna says that only those people, there's some qualification to attain his abode, and those who are able to qualify for this, to enter his abode, it's a great situation. It's only Mahatmas who can enter his abode. So let's take a look at the spiritual sky. So we see this is the spiritual sky, and the abodes of the Lord. They are eternal, and once you go there, you don't fall down again into the material world. So there's two abodes of the Lord. There's Goloka Vrindavan, which is the topmost, which is this lotus flower here, depicted by the lotus flower. There's Goloka Vrindavan, and beneath it here is Vaikuntha Loka. So they're different in so many ways, but there's no life, there's no birth and death there, and the Lord resides there together with his associates. Let's take a look at Goloka Vrindavan. So it's depicted in the Goloka chart as a lotus flower with 1,000 petals. It's divided into the 3 holy dhams. So it's divided into Goloka Vrindavan, which is there, the highest. It's Goloka Vrindavan, Dwarka, Mathura. So that we remember when Krishna came to this earthly planet, he brought these holy dhams with him. We know he resided in Gokula, in Mathura, in Dwarka. So there's Goloka Vrindavan here, there in the middle. Right. So in Goloka Vrindavan, Krishna is present in his 2-armed form as a cowherd boy. And the inhabitants there serve Krishna intimately in rasas of parent, lover, friend. So we can see here the different petals which illustrate the different pastimes, the different rasas of Krishna. The topmost planet, therefore, in the spiritual sky is Goloka Vrindavan, and it's larger than all other spiritual planets combined. Right, so that was a brief description there of Goloka Vrindavan. Let's take a look at Vaikuntha Loka. So this here is Vaikuntha Loka, and there's so many Vaikuntha Lokas where the Lord resides in his Narayan expansions together with his eternal associates. So here you have the different, you can see, I don't know if you can make out, but there's the Varaha incarnation of the Lord, the Matsya avatar. We have Lord Nrsimhadev here. All the avatars are there because we have different inclinations. So devotees are inclined to worship the Lord in different forms. Some may have attraction, say, to Lord Nrsimhadev. So when they die, they go to the planet of Vaikuntha where Lord Nrsimhadev is present. Or some may want to worship the Lord as Varahadev, so they would go to the Vaikuntha planet, which is headed by Lord Varahadev. So Vaikuntha, the word Vaikuntha means no anxiety. The Lord resides there as Narayan, and he has 4 arms, and all the inhabitants also have 4 arms. So all the inhabitants of Vaikuntha have similar body to the Lord, and they are also have 4 hands. So this here we see all the inhabitants, the guards of Vaikuntha, Jai and Vijay. We can see how they look. Similar form to the Lord. So here the inhabitants, unlike in Goloka Vrindavan, the inhabitants serve in a different mood, in the mood of servants, so dasya ras. So in awe and reverence. So the Lord is seated on a golden throne, and he is being worshipped with love and devotion by his servants who are bowing down before him. And that's unlike Goloka, where cowherd boys are sitting on Krishna's shoulders, are teasing him. Krishna is stealing butter. His parents are chastising him and all of that. That's different. In Vaikuntha, there is no such intimate friendship, this kind of rasas. It's more like, you're the Lord and I'm your servant. the Lord is our master. It's a different mood there. Each planet is self-illuminating and many million times brighter than the sun. So obviously here in this material world we need the sun to get heat and to get light. But in the material world there's no need, in the spiritual world, there's no need for that, because Krishna is personally present, and therefore the light, the effulgence from him means that there's no need for moons and suns and electricity in these spiritual planets. So from the Srimad Bhagavatam we get a lot of information about Krishna's eternal abode. We are really lucky to know so much about the Supreme Lord. So just a brief glimpse. Obviously there's so much to say, but this is just to give you a brief glimpse. So in Vaikuntha planets there are many forests with wish-fulfilling trees filled with flowers and fruits in all seasons. The inhabitants fly in their airplanes made of lapis lazuli, emerald and gold, with their wives and consorts, and eternally sing of the character and activities of the Lord. The ladies in the Vaikuntha are as beautiful as the goddess of fortune herself, their hands playing with lotuses and their leg bangles tinkling. They are sometimes seen sweeping the marble walls, which are bedecked at intervals with golden borders to receive the grace of a Supreme Personality of Godhead. The goddesses of fortune worship the Lord in their own gardens by offering tulsi leaves on the coral-paved banks of transcendental reservoirs of water. When the king of bees hums in a high pitch, singing the glories of the Lord, transcendental birds such as the pigeon, the cuckoo, the crane, the chakravaka, the swan, the parrot, the partridge, and the peacock stop their own singing simply to hear the glories of the Lord. There are lots of flowering plants, for example, the bakula, the lily, parijata, which are full of transcendental fragrance, but tulsi is given special preference by the Lord, who garlands himself with tulsi leaves. So we can see here in this picture, there's the Supreme Lord. He's being served by the goddesses of fortune, and all the inhabitants are serving the Supreme Lord. So we can see the great opulence of the spiritual planet of Vaikuntha. And we can see what the inhabitants are busy doing. They're not busy enjoying themselves, enjoying these beautiful flowers, or enjoying them. All this opulence. They are simply engaged in serving the Lord. So we can see that this is an important qualification to, in order to go to Vaikuntha planets. We should be solely interested in giving Krishna pleasure, and not in busy satisfying our own desires and our own desires and bodily wants. And if we reach this kind of consciousness, then only will we be qualified to go to such a planet. Because you can imagine if somebody were to go there to Vaikuntha and they were not in the same mindset as all the others, other devotees who are only focused on giving Krishna pleasure, then that person would be the odd one out. He wouldn't be really a good fit. He wouldn't be belonging there. Okay, so now we will look at Goloka Vrindavan. So Goloka, so on this planet it's called Gokula. So remember, Krishna came to this planet and he had his abodes, Dwaraka, Vrindavan and Gokula. But the spiritual planet, which is in the spiritual sky, is called Goloka. Goloka Vrindavan. Vrindavan Dham is a place of ever-increasing joy. The ground is made of jewels, whose dazzling glory is equal to a myriad of suns rising in the sky at one time. On that ground is a garden of desire trees, which always shower divine love. We know desire trees are trees that can fulfill all your desires, give you any fruits you want. Flowers and fruits of all seasons grow there. Vrindavan is decorated with wish-fulfilling trees, wound with creepers and beautiful flowers. Its divine beauty is ornamented with the pollen of red, blue, and white lotuses. This transcendental land is full of the sweet sound of various birds. All directions resound with the humming of bumblebees, and it is served with cool breezes and the waters of the Yamuna river. Water is nectar, every word is a song, every gate is a dance. Numberless milk cows always emit transcendental oceans of milk. Even inanimate objects, for example stones, are conscious. So that's from the Gautamiya Tantra and the Brahma Samhita. So we can see Goloka Vrindavan is also a place of bliss, a beautiful place beyond our imagination. And Krishna is there as a cowherd boy, wearing a peacock feather, dressing himself with garlands of beautiful flowers, and enjoying jokes and games and pastimes, full of sweet, loving exchange with his devotees. And here we know that even inanimate objects, even like stones, have consciousness there and are thinking of serving Krishna. Animals also, they are devotees, so they have consciousness and they can think and can interact with Krishna. Everyone is singing the glories of Krishna in Vrindavan. So this is a place of happiness, and it's an eternal place where we would all want to go. Right, so I'm going to finish up now. Good news is that, okay, so we're not in that amazing spiritual world where we would want to be, where there's only happiness, ever increasing happiness, and where there's a personal association with Krishna. But truth is, we're still in the material world. So what can we do? The good news is we can be in this material world, but at the same time we can be in the spiritual world, because the spiritual world is a lot to do also with your state of consciousness. When one is absorbed in the thoughts, in the feelings, the activities, his pastimes, when we're thinking of Krishna, we're no longer in this material world. Although our bodies, our physical bodies, are here, but our consciousness has already traveled to Vaikuntha Loka, and that's because Krishna is the absolute truth. He is non-different from his names, from his pastimes. So when we think of him, by Krishna's great mercy, we're already in the spiritual world. And we can relate to that because we feel great happiness. We don't feel that we are affected in this material world, that we're here in the material world and we're being affected by the modes and by material energy. When we are chanting together, we're immersed in kirtan, or we're listening to the pastimes of Krishna, our mind is in the spiritual world and we feel happiness, we feel peace. So we can still be here, but we can travel to the spiritual world and associate with the Lord. So, and Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya have given us a very simple way how we can straight away connect with Krishna and engage our mind in thinking of him. We can get absorbed in the holy name. Lord Chaitanya said, you can achieve perfection in your life simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. So we all need to just chant the Hare Krishna mantra and think of Krishna, and we are relieved from this, from the sufferings of this material world, and we are straight in connection with Krishna. So let us all chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So chanting this Hare Krishna mantra is like, it's like the the phone number of Krishna. It's like when we want to talk to somebody, we may give them a ring. We dial the number and we give them a ring. So this Maha Mantra is like we're phoning Krishna in the spiritual world, and we're talking to him. It's like the number, like a number you dial to connect with Krishna. Alright folks, so that's it for me. If you've liked this video and you think it's helpful to you, please put a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and keep chanting.